Well, the gang's all here. The gang's all here. Here we are.
What's
live
happening?
on a Monday. How is everybody?
Doing good.
Yep, doing great.
God, doing good. Well, you're live on Professor Bats and Friends. Here we go. Woo! I can play it. Oh, you want to play it again? Here we go. I love it. Well, welcome to the live recording of Professor Bats and Friends podcast. We are here live with Tony. How are you, Tony?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good. Happy Monday.
Yes, it was a good Monday.
And Brad is down there. This is what's the old game show where they used to point to the people as like squares, Hollywood squares? Yes.
Hollywood
Squares.
Yes.
Yeah, Hollywood squares of Go Explore. I swear, yeah, you have to turn and look. Hey, Tony, how are you?
Hey, Tony.
Except it's opposite. Yeah.
Opposite. It's like Brady Bunch.
Oh my goodness!
The intro to Brady Bunch.
You might say that we're still in recovery mode from this weekend. We haven't got a whole lot of sleep. We haven't recovered from being extremely moist and waterlogged. I think Brad was probably the most waterlogged out of all of us.
Guaranteed.
Yep. I sat in the dry and watched the rain a lot, but I didn't get to play in it like y'all did. So we'll cover that here in just a little bit. But we've got a pretty cool show coming on, and I appreciate y'all being here. Brad from GoXplorUSA, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for having me, for sure.
Yeah, and my partner in crime, Miss Danielle, thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming on with such short notice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time together this past weekend, and it was super fun. You and Cassie, PJ, and Gia.
Yep.
And it was we had a heck of a time. We cooked the right amount of meals, but we skipped a day and compacted them because that is what the Lord had planned.
That's right.
So we'll get into that. But anyway, we got Danielle Brazel on here. So we got some new people on here. Lindsey Bond, all the way from Kansas, joining us. Jean is watching. Miss Jean Roberts. Thank you for being here. And Tate from Overland Spices. Hey.
Tate, buddy.
Oh.
Used a lot
used you this weekend.
Your stuff this weekend, brother.
Yes, we did.
I promise you, it was fun. Well, this past weekend, we ventured out on the Go Explore USA Ouachitas Run. Started out on Thursday at Lake Sylvia in the Ouachitas, and we were kind of wondering what the weather was going to be like from start. It was something that we were trying to update constantly, and it seemed like every time we updated, it changed. But we were prepared for the worst and hoping for the best, and we experienced the worst and the best, I think. I don't know how it could have gotten any worse. Maybe if you'd thrown a tornado or hurricane, or if Mount St. Helens had erupted or something like that, would have been a little bit worse.
Yeah, a little more lightning probably would have been good.
Lightning, thunder, been great. So all that thrown in there would have made it a little bit worse. But I'm going to say that Brad had one of his most memorable birthdays on Friday. That was great. But Thursday we rolled into the lake, and everybody kind of came in at their own pace. And isn't that kind of how it was planned, Brad?
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, we set Thursday up as an option. The objective is to save people that are traveling a great distance. Like, we had people from several states away that came, and keep them from having to pay for an extra hotel and trying to be there at 9 a.m. What we do is we'll set up camp Thursday night, gives everybody time to come in at their leisure. They can come in anytime they want to, whether it's noon or midnight, it doesn't matter. And we'll have a place for them to sleep and or a spot for them to set up. And if they get there early enough, we'll feed them, and we'll hit them with breakfast in the morning. And then they're already where they need to be for the beginning of the trip, roughly 9 a.m. On Friday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely planned. Trying to save them a hotel bill.
Well, I know we had people from Arkansas, Ohio, Mississippi, Louisiana,
Kansas.
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma,
Indiana,
and Missouri.
Yep.
So we had them coming in from all over. So I know that they were planning on rolling in at different times.
Yep.
But we started out at a good spot. Wanted everybody to have a place where they could find on the map. So that was nice. And if you don't know what we're talking about GoXplorUSA. You can check out the website. I got it posted there at the bottom of the screen, GoXplorUSA.com. Brad, tell us a little bit about what GoXplorUSA is and how it works.
So the whole objective of GoXplorUSA is to encourage people that may not have the experience, may be new to overlanding. They're like, hey, we go to the expos, we see all this stuff. This is something that we want to get involved in. However, they're like, hey, I don't want to go out. I'm not very good at maybe they're not very good at planning routes. Maybe they do have experience and have been all over the country, but they're like, hey, I want to go see the Ozarks, or I want to go see the Ouachitas, or wherever else we might be going. And the objective for those folks is that we can probably show you more in 3 days than you could probably find on your own in a week. And it's about keeping that time frame, that the vacation time that they have, kind of keeping it sacred and valuing that time and getting the most out of that time. So we'll plan a trip, and we'll do everything from hike to waterfalls, scenic overlooks. We don't just jump in the truck and ride. Now, Friday we did a lot of riding because it was a lot of raining. So we shift on the go. I mean, that's part of it. We do our best to plan out both driving and hiking each day, but depending on the weather and things of that nature, we can shift on the fly and kind of wing it, if you will. But we have a plan. I mean, it's not like we're just completely going by the seat of our pants. When we make out a route, we do multiple routes that are in the event of this day is bad or that day is bad. We kind of know where we're going to be at in that time frame, and we try to, it might be that we might have had a waterfall scheduled for Friday, but because it was raining, we may hit it first Saturday or something along those lines. So,
okay.
We're not just flying by the seat of our pants. We got a plan.
Flexible plan.
That's exactly right. So
yeah, definitely flexible. Yeah, definitely flexible. Yeah.
Might have been the most flexible trip we've done yet.
Yeah, this would probably weigh in around the stripper flexible rather than just like the regular flexible person. I mean, we're talking about we're going to have to do some stuff different here, and that's just the way it is.
There was no other option. Flexibility was the only way it was going to happen.
Well, one thing that we did, we ate a lot. We started out the morning, Friday morning. We get up. It really wasn't that bad Friday morning. Right when we got up, Danielle and I made some breakfast, a little bacon, and I think I made biscuits that morning, which were sweet biscuits. It was all gone. Eggs, everything was gone. So everybody started off the day with a full belly. Now, when y'all pulled out, it started to hammer. The rain came down right after I got everything packed up. And Danielle, I told Danielle, hey, they have showers over there in the bathroom. She's like, I'm just going to go use the bathroom and I'll meet y'all over there. And she came back. She's like, I had a shower and it felt great.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I was already,
okay.
I was already soaking wet. I don't ever get to shower camping. This is amazing.
Well, I went over there and I just used the bathroom real quick. And when I came out, it was cats and dogs coming down. It was amazing. So, well, we got a question already, Brad. So tell everybody how you schedule your trips a little bit, because we already got questions about trips coming up when they're not sold out.
We base our trips. We try to plan out for the whole year. It takes several months to get permits and things of that nature. We're working on annual permits to maybe shorten that time down and figure out a way to get more trips in. As far as that question on the Ouachitas, it'll probably be next year. We generally do one trip a year to the Ouachitas. We're going to try to do a couple trips to the Ozarks this year. And we're looking at Kentucky still. That one, we're way into the planning on that one. And that one we hope to announce by the end of April, if all goes as planned. So it's really about permits and getting in touch with the right people and making the plans and that kind of thing. So, yeah, we started out, with just a couple trips last year. This year, we've already got 3 trips that we're working on. 2 of them sold out, which is the Ouachitas and the Ozarks. The Kentucky trip, I can promise you, will sell out extremely fast. I get a couple emails a week asking about that trip. We're thinking about if we can get the annual permit that we're looking for in the Ozarks, then we will most likely do more than one trip to the Ozarks. And we got another little thing that we're working on, but we're going to hold off on that. So, but yeah, we're looking at doing some really fun stuff in the Ozarks, and and then next year we'll probably branch out to maybe another state and see what happens. So.
All right. Well, how does it work that someone gets their name on the list? And I've been to events like this that sell out so fast. FJ Summit was one of my most favorite events. It sold out in less than a minute. And if you weren't sitting there when they posted, okay, it's going to go live at this time, then you didn't get in. And so how does that work with people getting their names on the list?
So far, this hasn't ever been a problem, but it's becoming one. So, which that's a good problem to have. Basically, at this point, what I've decided, and I'm sure it will change, but if you will join our mailing list, our email list, go to the website, click on the mailing list. It's towards the bottom on the homepage. And what I will do is I will send an email out to those people that are on the mailing list first. I'll include the date, all the information that you're going to need to determine whether or not it's something that you're able to do. And then I will say, hey, on this date, at this time, we're going to open it up. And but the thing is, I can only do about six rigs on each trip. And I know that's not very many, but I mean, that's just all we can handle. And if you get any bigger than that, then you end up, it makes it more difficult to camp. It makes it more difficult. We want to keep it intimate. When you're on that trip, we want to be able to give you an opportunity to make, some good relationships with the people you're with. Our goal is for you to meet people on your trip that you may end up going on trips later with, and hopefully, you may find a buddy that is, more than willing to go places that you love, and theoretically, you're going to be somewhat on the same level as far as your skills and as far as your, your experiences and things of that nature. So, it's a work in progress, and our goal is to do it in as fair a manner as we can. But as of right now, that's probably how we're going to do the Kentucky trip, is get on the mailing list. We'll shoot you an email and say, hey, here's the details, and this is when it's going to go live. And, the first 6 is the first 6. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I understand. Do you have a world premiere announcement for the dates of the Kentucky trip?
Ooh, I will, but it'll be on the email.
Okay. Well, we lost that one, Tony. Sorry, lost that one, Tony.
Tried.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Well, it'll be on the email. You got to get on the email. And
Hey,
that reminds me, I probably need to sign up for the email.
It may come out.
Joey.
Yeah.
You do emails? Weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Hey, Mike, glad you be here. Michael may be moving to Alaska. That's
Wow.
pretty crazy. Yeah.
What?
I know. It's kind of exciting. I love that guy. But anyway, we had Lindsay had asked about the s'mores dip. I had put that out there on one of my posts, and you talk about one of the easiest things I've ever seen made, but yet was so good.
It was awful.
This was something new. Danielle had never tried this before, but and she was a little nervous because she was scooping coals like somebody I'd never seen before. But it turned out so good. And when she pulled the lid off that last time, she was like, "I made it, Craig toasted them. It actually worked. I have had those times so many times. Oh my gosh, it actually worked. Tell us how you made the s'mores dip.
Well, it was pretty complicated. It took me some time, a lot of thought process. So first you layer the bottom with chocolate.
Yeah.
And then very carefully put the marshmallows in the middle and circle around and around till it's full.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the lid on it, and then you just keep piling those coals on. And
pile the coals on the top.
Yeah.
On the top.
I put a little bit of heat underneath just to make sure. I'd use those really thick chocolate bars this time, and so a little bit of heat underneath, and piled those coals on top because I didn't just want white mushy marshmallows. I want them toasted, and it really made me happy.
It was so good.
Yeah. Tony is lying. He's lying when he says it was awful.
No, anybody that's heard me say that knows I always follow it up with "it's awfully good."
Oh yeah.
It's just
there wasn't any left. There wasn't any
No.
left, and people were licking the bowl. So it was.
I thought I was gonna. I even said, "Well, I'll probably just take these home to my kids, and they'll heat it up and eat it." Wasn't happening, and it was a big pot.
Well, I would recommend. I think Gia actually took it and piled it all in a bowl and then mixed it together with the graham crackers. The way that it toasts the marshmallows, they're almost kind of chewy, and they're so good.
That was really good.
But it's almost it's really hard to dip with the graham crackers. So
Gia did it right. She had it.
Yeah, it was so
I put
good.
my graham cracker on the bottom and then just spooned it on top. It worked out really well.
This is confession time for Brad. Brad's been on a diet for a long time, but he cheated.
I did.
He cheated when the chocolate marshmallows came out. Of course, we put him through a guilt trip.
There's a little peer pressure involved.
There was. We made him feel really bad. We went through all this work, and we spent all this time layering this chocolate and spinning the marshmallows around so it filled the thing up, putting the coals on, and you're not even going to eat any. And he was like, "Okay, I'll try."
I burnt my hands.
You did burn your hand.
Yeah, like
you burn your hand.
Let me have pain.
So, Diane. Okay, all right. I'm a little slow, but I'm starting to put it together. Diane was one of the folks that was with us this weekend. Diane Manley. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes.
So Friday, getting back to where we were, Friday started out, that was going to be in our plan, that was going to be the trail day. That was going to be the hard trail day. There's not a whole lot of hard trails in the Ouachitas, but you did pick some doozies. And so we just didn't know at the time the curveball that the great creator was going to throw in there and send with the rain. Now we knew it was going to rain. We just didn't know how much.
That's right.
So you get out there and all of a sudden started out with a flat tire right off the bat. You had to change in the pouring rain, and then a couple of recoveries. Now, I don't know if people understand that a lot of times when you go on these trips, you may end up in a class, like a recovery class, cooking class, how to set up your camp class, or, you know, walking around and looking at everybody's rigs and then going home and buying all new stuff class. That usually happens on every trip. So if you don't understand that when you sign up with Go Explore, just expect that. You're going to learn some stuff and you're probably going to end up coming home and spend a lot of money. So right off the bat was recovery time because you chose a really good trail. And it ended up being a doozy.
Full disclosure, this trip was pre-rain.
Yeah.
In the accent. Okay, the minivan.
Yeah, the Honda Element. Yeah.
Honda Element. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we pre-ran the trip, you know, several weeks back, the objective was not to have hard trails. The objective was to have an educational experience as, hey, this trail looks kind of tough, but if you look at it, you can see that, you know, you put your wheels in the right spot and you're good to go. So for the most part, except for one spot, everyone had a reasonable time driving the trail. It wasn't that the winching that we did was more of a safety thing. It was on the Cherokee, pretty much stock with some all-terrain tires. He was the one that had the flat, so his spare tire was a street tire. And basically, he got in a situation where he had 2 wheels off the ground, 2 wheels on the ground, and no lockers. So it was, you know, a street tire trying to climb the hill. So we said, okay, so instead of having him, you know, the chance of him sliding off the trail and, you know, maybe possibly causing damage to his vehicle, we literally hooked him up and pulled him about a foot, and he was able to drive the rest of the trail. So it wasn't a huge dramatic thing where, you know, there was water coming in and, you know, it was everybody was on their knees, you know.
That came later.
Yeah, but you said you pulled him about a foot, Brad, but what you need to expand upon is you didn't pull him forward or backward a foot.
Sideways.
You pulled him uphill sideways. Uphill.
Yeah.
Front and rear winch. This is more than just Recovery 101.
Yeah.
This was Recovery 303.
Definitely in the 300 series.
Yeah.
So
multiple snatch blocks. That was a cool pictures there.
I got it on video. Cool. I got the whole thing on video.
A lot of pictures coming. Yeah. A lot of pictures coming. And if I didn't mention, Tony was a photographer on this. That was pretty cool to have you come along. And I don't know if that day on Friday, if I was more worried about you or your camera.
Oh, I was stressing big time about the camera.
Yeah.
I knew that you could get wet and you'd be okay, but the camera, whew, man, those electronics sometimes.
So
the first
there, our goal is to never end up in the situation that we were in. That was not the objective. I mean, you know, we always say that you know, we can pick the date, but we can't pick the weather. I believe that this is 100% you know, weather related. Also, you know, the trail had deteriorated some since we had been down there to do the pre-run. This particular spot was almost at the end of the trail, so it wasn't like we could just turn around and say we're not going to go through that. And actually, every other vehicle had no issues getting through that spot. So it was a deal where, like I said, for the most part, it was to prevent them from damaging their vehicle and, you know, having to romp on it and whatnot. Our goal is not to put you in a situation where you're going to damage your vehicle or you're going to have to be winched, that kind of thing.
And I want to say this right off the bat too, while you're covering that. A lot of people do not realize or understand flash floods, and the video and the pictures that you took were just incredible. And I witnessed it firsthand in a different area, but the trail was deteriorating even after you entered the trail. It was raining so hard. Giant rocks were rolling down through washouts. You had All the washouts were filled with water. So the rain was actually making the trail worse even after you entered on it. So it wasn't like, oh, this is going to be a challenge. Let's go do it. Let's see what we can do. And I know there's some groups out there that go out there and brag about, oh, every vehicle had damage, or all this other stuff. That's definitely not the goal. The goal was to have fun, challenge yourself, learn a little bit, and have fun. And but the situation at hand caused you to have to make some on-site decisions, and I can attest to the fact that you made some great decisions between you and Tony and Bronson, the guys who were there. Y'all made some great decisions, and everybody came out pretty much unscathed. It was
and to my knowledge,
nobody had vehicle damage, even the trailer that laid over on its side. So
yeah,
we wasn't going to bring that up.
Yeah. Great pictures. Well, it presents a whole nother factor when you take a trailer down a trail. You really never know because you don't know that trailer. Is it top heavy? Right. What it's got in it, or anything like that. So there's certain trails that I will not take my trailer down because I know it's top heavy, and getting that thing turned back up would be a mess, and I just don't want to chance it. So it's just one of those things. When somebody shows up with a trailer, you just have to deal with it, and you dealt with it very well. So that's just it. But the way that we kind of did things was Danielle and I went ahead of everybody to the campsite, and we were going to have dinner prepared for everybody when they showed up. Lunch was on your own, so you had lunch on the trail. And then when they showed up, we were going to have dinner prepared, and we had a menu, and we talked about this because we did a couple shows in the past few weeks about getting some ideas about what to do. And we were going to have a taco bar that night, and we had set up at Fork Mountain, where everybody parks to go to the waterfall. And so we actually went to make sure that nobody was in our campsite, and then we did some running around. I'm not going to tell everybody that we went and had dinner at the cafe, and then came back.
We had lunch
at the cafe, and then came back because we had plenty of time. We knew that y'all were going to be out on the trail a while, and we knew what we were cooking. We were all set up, and so we knew it was going to be raining. So it was either going to be sitting in the car for a few hours to go grab some lunch. So that's what we did. And we came back and we set everything up in one of the only dry spots because it had been raining that morning and it was pretty wet. And you had two low water bridges to cross to get in there, and they were pretty high at the time from the rain that morning. But we get in there and we set up, and right when we set up, the sun's shining. I mean, it's beautiful. And there for about an hour, I'm like, oh, this is going to be nice. Maybe the rain moved through a little bit earlier than what they had said. And I said that, maybe this isn't going to be too bad. So we set everything up, and then it started getting dark, and we were like, oh man, it may start raining again. And so we went up under the cave and set up under there, and here come the rain, and here come the rain, and here come the rain. And it just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And I don't think there was any way for us to foresee that happening. Even with a chance of rain, it was 100% in some areas, but the amount of rain, you just can't foresee that coming, even if you're a weatherman. So
I think I sent this to the group of the staff, but when I got home, I was like, I got to know how much rain came down, in that time frame. And the location that we were at on the trail, I was able to locate that trail. And on Friday, now it doesn't give you a time frame, it just says on Friday, it rained over 3 inches. And I would be willing to bet most of that was in the afternoon. It did not rain. I bet it didn't rain half an inch in the morning, or from midnight till noon even. I would say it rained an inch an hour for several hours. And the thing that's even more amazing than that, where Danielle and Joey were, it rained over 4 inches in that same time. So it went from, it's just a little rain to we have a situation, and I'll tell you this. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to plug the inReach. Each of all have the inReach, and we're all able to communicate with one another. And, you know, although we didn't need to push the SOS button, which is what everybody kind of says, oh, well, if I ever need the SOS button, I'll have it. It was a true required tool, in my opinion, for what we were doing and able to communicate with one another when we had no cell service. And we were able to say, hey, you know, we're okay. We're going to sit here till the water goes down, and then we're going to head your way. And then they're like, hey, you know, you ain't going to get in here because the water's too deep, and you need to go do something else, you know. And so it was amazing that we were able to communicate with one another clearly and safely, and everybody knew everybody was safe. Everybody knew nobody, you know, needed any assistance, and we were able to, you know, adjust our plans accordingly.
It was, we were parked about, I'm going to say about 40 yards from the last low water bridge to get in there. And from the time that we got in there, I'm going to say it was probably about 8 to 10 inches deep when we came in. And it was flowing so hard. I'm going to say it was probably about 3 foot deep. And rolling at about 30 miles an hour. In fact, it was so loud that Danielle thought I'd started my FJ right beside her. And she started hollering at me, and I wasn't anywhere around there.
No, just kept hearing this roar and a roar, and I thought, well, I guess Gia and Joey were cold. I was in the rooftop tent, and no, it was the river, the creek, whatever it is. It was roaring.
And I agree, Brad, because we were able to get on the inReach and say, don't attempt this. It's not worth your life. And so we had great communication as far as that. We had radios. We were on GMRS radios the whole time. When you started down there, I got on the radio and said, send a couple guys, or you come down here and look at this, because there's not a whole lot of places to turn around. And you were able to do that and decided that it wasn't worth a chance. So it was Tony, who is rolling high waters on his Jeep. He's way up there.
Yeah.
He decided to attempt it, but Tony, tell us what was going through your mind when you came across there. And it had went down quite a bit by the time y'all got there. So
yeah, it had gone down quite a bit, but you know, it's just one of those things. You look at it and you think, I don't know, you know, how deep really is it? You know, so just easing out there into it, and you know, I don't know. I questioned it, but I kept going, and then finally I got to the point where I realized it was going to be okay, and then I just went on through. But it still, you know, got my
his hands were shaking. Look, I was videoing you, and I could tell how high the water was. It came up to your running lights, or your off-road lights on your bumper.
Yeah,
and I know your bumper sits up probably 3 feet off the ground at least.
Yeah, I mean, I've had water up to the headlights before, but you
not
know,
running 30 miles an hour across
not like that. Yeah, so
yeah, well, that was good, and I want to brag on everybody. There's several people who were on the trip who are listening and you know, are on here commenting right now. But I want to brag on everybody that when the decision was made to go somewhere else and spend the night, and we couldn't get dinner to them, they had to eat their lunch from the next day. They were all very cooperative, and I was very impressed with that. I know, Brad, you were stressed about that, so
sure.
You may want to comment on that.
In your mind, you plan this stuff out, and you know the goal is to, and to be honest with you, the Ouachita trip is supposed to be the easiest trip that we do all year. Not that the others are so hard, but this one's supposed to be, you know, the easier of the ones, and it definitely turned out to be one of the most difficult. And I was truly grateful, not only on the hill when we were trying to wait it out and trying to figure out, you know, one thing you didn't mention was, you know, as we're going down this hill, we're getting closer and closer to the river. And I'm looking at the topo map and I'm saying, hey, you know, these lines aren't changing between here and the river. And, you know, we're trying to decide, do we go back up the hill, you know, where we just had to winch and all that good stuff? Or do we sit here till the water goes down? Or, you know, what do we do? We spend the night, you know, what do we do? And everyone, as I went and kind of explained the situation to everyone and talked to people, everybody was like, whatever you say, we're going to do. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. There were people in the group that their vehicles were perfectly capable of driving across. See, the water all was going downhill. Well, at the bottom of the hill, it was a river, just like what Tony drove across. And we ended up just sitting there until it went down low enough and got slow enough, which was, an hour or more. We probably stayed on the hill maybe 3 hours, maybe 2.5 from the time I first saw the water at the bottom. And I guarantee it dropped 18 inches or more in that time. Yeah. So it wasn't like, it was a situation where you walk up to something and you're like, there's no way we're going to do that. That's not an option. That's not safe. And it turned into a part where you watch it and you watch it and you monitor and you monitor and you gain more information about everything that's going on around you. And at some point you say, okay, now it's safe for us to proceed, whereas before it wasn't. So it's very important for everybody to know that we are safety first. If it meant us spending the night on that trail, we'd have done it. Because the last thing we want is anybody to get hurt or have a horrible experience, flood out a vehicle, anything like that. We're not going to do that. We will do a lot of things before. And again, I'm greatly appreciate everybody that was so confident in the decision-making process, willing to do whatever it took, like Mike just said, stay with the group no matter what. That's important, and, that's another reason why, I encourage people, whether you're experienced or not, go with a group. If it's our group, great. We'd love to have you. But I had a couple guys after the fact say, if I'd have been out here by myself and I ran into that same situation, I'd have freaked out, and I had no idea what to do. And it's like, I understand. And, we pick the date, we don't pick the weather, and we do our best to manipulate, our schedule to the weather and do what's safe and still give everybody the value that they're expecting out of the trip. And, it's, we call it an authentic overland adventure for a reason. And that reason is because when you're out on your own, whether you're with us or with your friends or with some other group, you really don't know what's going to happen. And, you can only prepare so much. Then it's, hey, we're doing something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the old adage goes, you don't make memories on the mountains, you make them in the valleys, or you don't learn lessons on the mountains, you learn them in the valleys. Well, that was definitely true this time because I was kind of freaking out there for a little while because I've been to that campsite 25 times. It's only about 30 minutes from my house. I had never seen the water over the low water bridge, much less 3 foot over the low water bridge. And I thought, how long is it going to take for this to go down? We may be stuck here for a while and y'all couldn't get to us. And that's the only way out. And we were in there and I thought, how are we going to get out of this place? So
and y'all had all the food.
And we had all the food. We could have lived there for a while. Well, in our defense, y'all went up Highway 7 a little bit and spent the night at a little roadside park, and you had your lunch for Saturday, and we had our lunch for Saturday too. We just got stuff out. We had, we weren't going to get anything out and cook because the mud was outrageous. Everything that we owned was covered in mud and soaked, and our clothes, shoes. It almost washed my shoes plumb down into the river. Danielle's
I was
soaked.
So happy they didn't because I wore them.
Yeah, Danielle, and I don't know how, but I guess getting from the cave back to her vehicle, it was so much water that water went over her waterproof boots. And if you've ever got water inside waterproof boots, they don't dry out very fast. So I let her wear my slippers and she let her boots dry out. But Tony came over. We had a pretty decent night. The rain quit finally. We were able to take some videos of the water. Gia and I walked up the trail back to trying to go to the waterfall, and we couldn't even get there. The water was over the trail to get there, but the river was just outrageous. I have never seen anything like that in that area. And I've seen water over the roads getting to that place, and I've never seen water flow like that. That was truly a flash flood that we had to deal with. And it was just an amazing time. First of all, seeing everybody make the right decision on what to do. And second of all, having that many people in the group being happy no matter what. We're going to make the best of it. And as bad of a day as Friday was, as memorable as a day in the worst part as Friday was, Saturday could not have been that much better. We get up, sun shining, it's beautiful. Everybody rolls into camp, 9 o'clock ish or so. We have breakfast prepared, and a great breakfast it was. And we had to park on the road because that was the only place you could get. And when everybody rolled in, I was just wondering, okay, how's everybody's attitudes going to be? And I think, Brad, I came up to you and said, how was it last night? How was everybody's attitudes? And you said, man, everybody was great. Everybody was great. And that was just amazing to me. It really was. And that just made the rest of the trip that much better, because from that time on, we had sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns the rest of the time. It was amazing.
You know, one thing that really stands out to me, Brad, I don't know if you saw it after we got down and you know, I went through that one crossing, and then y'all followed. After you went through that, the trail kind of made a sweeping right turn. Did you happen to look down into the low flat area to the right and notice all of the water was like, it was running, it looked like a spider web.
It did.
And that's when I realized, most people, when you see a raging river blowing over a low water bridge or something, I didn't realize that, that water doesn't just appear in the same spot upstream. It runs in however it can and fills up. And I remember looking over and I was like, oh my gosh, it just looked like a spider web of streams all down.
All over.
Yeah. Through the trees. I mean, it was anyway.
Yeah.
It
was one of those
that I'd never seen before.
It was one of those times where when you're hiking and it's a nice sunny day and you see the big pile of leaves on a tree and you're like, how'd that get there?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right, because when you go to Fort Mountain Falls, you can take the upper road, and then on the way back you can take the lower road that goes down by the Cascades. And we tried to walk up the lower trail, and it was completely covered. You couldn't even get to the lower part of the trail. So that part of the trail was at least a foot or two underwater, where the next day it was uncovered. So it's crazy how that happens.
Yeah.
Now we were able to get out of there. Some of y'all went to the falls, and some of them just stayed around there watching the river and just relaxing and having a good time, because I know the day before was stressful and long, and they just needed some recovery time. And Danielle and Gia and I went to the next campsite to try to secure it. I was kind of worried because the next one we were going to was a very popular one right there on Rock Creek Lake. And isn't that right? Rock Creek Lake?
Yeah.
Rock Creek Lake, yeah.
Rock Creek Lake.
And it has a little peninsula. It's so beautiful, completely surrounded by water. And we pull up there, and I did a happy dance. When we got up on top of that levee and I didn't see anybody down there, I was like, oh my gosh, the Lord answered my prayer. Nobody's there. I can't believe it. Well, we circle around, and I figure out why nobody's there. Because the lake is so high, the road is not there. And so you have to drive through the lake to get to the campsite. And I'm like, oh, this is sketchy. And Danielle said, I'll go.
Yeah. I mean, I did say you go first, but I'll go right after you. I'm gonna go. Well, I don't know what you're doing, Joey, but go.
Yeah, well, we chanced it, and it wasn't that bad. It was a foot or two high, but we made it and got over there, set everything up. Such a beautiful sunshiny day, and y'all came in and everybody's set up, and we just had a wonderful, amazing evening. That's when we had a late lunch. As soon as everybody got there, we got on the radios, the inReaches, and knew when y'all were coming, and had our taco bar that we were going to have the night before. We had that as a late lunch, and everybody got there, got their bellies full, and then that evening built a fire, beautiful fire. Everybody got to sit around and talk and compare stories and brag about who knows what, how to do this and all that. And it was just a great time. That is my favorite time of these trips. I love that time.
Yes.
And that was when all the late dinner came out, all the desserts came out, and everybody just had a wonderful time around the fire. So beautiful. I love it. It's a great ending.
I don't think I've ever camped at a place like that had such a great sunset and sunrise from the same spot. That was incredible.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and I was really hoping that was the way that we would be able to end it, because on the pre-run, I was telling Brad, I said, man, I know the perfect spot to end. I know the perfect spot, and and everything just worked out where we were able to get that, and we took a chance, with that being spring break week. A lot of people were out, a lot of people running around, and I was really shocked. We really didn't run into a whole lot of vehicles on the road. One or two here or there. There really wasn't a whole lot of people out, and didn't see anybody camping, because everybody in their right mind was not going to camp in that weather.
Right?
We're not those people. But it was a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I just can't tell everybody how much I appreciated everybody. Loved meeting everybody. Everybody was so nice. And how does this trip compare to the last one you did, Brad?
They're all so different, Joey. So as far as the excitement and things of that nature from all the water and all that good stuff, we've never had a trip yet that has been that intense. But our goal is to have laid back trips. I mean, that's our goal. We're not looking for the biggest rock. We're not looking for the biggest mud hole. We're out there to go and experience whatever area that we're in. It may be that we're experiencing waterfalls or overlooks, or it may be we're experiencing something like the OARC Cafe or the Ozone Burger Barn, something along those lines. It might be that we're driving through an old town, an old city, or an old place where people live that been there for hundreds of years and that kind of thing. Just experiencing the culture, what I think Overland's all about. Building those relationships and like you mentioned a while ago, one of my favorite things about doing this is all the different people that I get to meet and get to sit around a campfire with and talk to, and it's always sad to me on the day we all pull out, and it's like, man, I don't want to go. I want to hang out some more, because we've been telling stories and just building those bonds. And to me, that's one of the biggest things about GoXplorUSA is the long-lasting memories. Like Brian was on a minute ago and said hello. He came to me and said, these things are building memories, and that's something that not everybody gets to do. They don't always get to build memories with their kids or their spouse or their buddies or whatever. On such a level that we try to put it. And we do our best to pick safe places where you're going to enjoy yourself and not be worried about tearing your rig up. However, like this trip, I mean, there's things that we don't have control over, but the things we did have control over, we handled it. And like I said, in the end, nobody's vehicle got tore up, nobody got hurt. Everybody left with a smile on their face and said they would be more than happy to do it again. And that's our goal, is for that. I love it. I love you guys. I love what y'all add to the event. Couldn't do it without y'all. Each one of you have very special talent that I know everybody gets involved in these trips and comes, they're going to see who you are, and it's the real you, and they get to experience, your special talent, whether it be cooking or helping lead, or that kind of thing. Photography. Tony took some amazing photos. I cannot wait for everybody to see them. And the volume of photos was phenomenal.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all realize that was not sarcasm. That was literally 829 pictures.
Yeah.
So, no embellishment there.
Yeah, no, and that's just on the one. I not including all the ones I got on my phone and the GoPro and all the other.
And everybody else will contribute to that pile too, because everybody has a phone and takes pictures. But Brad, I appreciate you sharing that. Now, Danielle, you have been all over the world. You've done so many trips abroad, so many overlanding trips, even a couple of trips with Brad. What was your takeaway from this particular trip?
I was a little worried about how much it was going to rain. Joey knows I was kind of obsessively updating my inReach.
You were so mad. It's not my right location. It's not my right location.
But yeah, I heard a few times, from Joey or Brad here say, man, that, I don't think you said it was a terrible day Friday, but to me, that was such an incredible day. Like the flash flooding, the trailer flipping, that we don't talk about. Learning trail side repair, which, slicing a sidewall, snatch blocks, all these things, and it's and it's just, to me, that was an incredible day. And I think everybody, we have people who come on these Go Explore trips, and, they have all levels of experience. Some of them are just like, man, they can get out there and they're going to outwheel us no matter what. And then we get some that come out there and they're bone stock trucks and they're new doing this, and they're learning something, no matter where your level is, you're learning something. And it's just such a great experience, great memories. If nobody gets hurt, it's not ever a bad day out overlanding to me. So yeah, I thought everything worked out great. We had such a great flexible group. We did not eat their dinner on Friday night like Brad and Tony Brad thought we might have done. So yeah, it was great. It was great.
Tony, you and I have been on countless trips together, but this was the first time that you had been in this role as photographer, videographer, whatever specifically. What was your takeaway from this trip?
Well, I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, I've never experienced anything like this weekend before, and the just the different role and just being, going along for the trip and then trying to capture everything. It's kind of a humbling thing. It's there's, for the people that do it on a regular basis, there's a lot that goes into that. And, I learned some things that, I'll do a little different next time, but, just overall the trip, I was amazed at how, when we got down to the Saline River crossing, and you couldn't even get down to where you saw where the other side of the road came out. It was like 100 yards across the water there.
Where normally it's about 20.
Yeah. I couldn't see. I couldn't get all the way down below like where the tree line was to see across where the road came out. And the flexibility, the planning that Brad put into, alternate routes, to go around, and we're going to have to make a loop around, stuff like that. So I don't know, just the overall experience. I thought Brad handled everything really well as far as the the recoveries. I was never stressed about anything other than getting my camera wet.
Yeah.
So, you know, so anyway, and the
Well,
asparagus was really good, I thought.
It's funny, out of all the food we had, that's the only thing you brought up was a vegetable.
Hey, well, you know, all the other stuff's already been talked about. I'll make sure to throw some good stuff.
The corn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's people out there who are anti groups like this, but you know, they're so closed-minded that they don't understand that there's so many people that enjoy this and so many people who need this. And you don't understand all that goes on behind the scenes, the pre-run, the planning, the putting together the route, the putting together the food, the pictures that you get to have and enjoy, and have someone there that knows a little something that you don't. So when you're put in that position, you're not freaking out. You're like, hey, I need help. And, you know, just to have Danielle there with me to prepare the food for 17 people, for so many meals, I couldn't have done it by myself. We worked so great together. If I didn't have something, she had it. If she didn't have something, I had it. And we were able to get everything. Gia helped so much.
I had a strainer.
You had a strainer. We appreciate the strainer.
Tony had the strainer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But just how good this team meshed together so impressed me. And how great we got along, how we put our heads together and came up with decisions when decisions needed to be made. At the end of the day, we had to change the very end, which worked out good for me. But it was a super good time, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And ended up on top of Petty Jean Mountain at the Overlook, and I proposed to Gia, and she said yes. So anyway, great way to end the trip. Brad had his most memorable birthday, and I had one of the most memorable days of my life too. So,
and they were both on the tour trip.
Yeah, and they were both on the Go Explore trip. So I'll tell you what, there's going to be.
If y'all want to do you know, some sort of proposal in the future, make sure and give your photographer a heads up.
Yeah. Right there.
Yeah, which I did.
Right there.
Which I did.
You did.
And you don't even have to give your girlfriend a heads up. So anyway, it was.
No, your photographer will almost do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. We planned, and Lindsay asked early in the show how we planned the route. We planned the route all on Gaia. And I use that.
I was not going to forget that. Yeah. So I use Gaia. I use an iPad as well as an iPhone. There are, you know, I guess different resources I use for different things, but for the Ozarks, for the Ouachitas, basically, I strictly use Gaia. And when I'm actually doing the trip, I'll have my iPad with like kind of my big picture with north facing up. And everybody's got their own way of doing it. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to do it. This is just how I like to do it. I'll have the route on both devices. I'll always have my map facing north on my iPad. That way, you know, I know, you know, the direction I'm going is the correct direction and all that. Because for me, if the arrow is always going up and the trail keeps moving, sometimes I can't tell what's north and south and east and west and all that. And so I'll use my phone with the arrow facing up, and on my iPad I use the north facing up. So if I come to an intersection, I can look at my phone and be like, yeah, I need to turn left here. Whereas it may be south on the other map, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, depending on which direction you're going. Is there there's 1,000.
Yeah, you may have to get on. You may have to get on your Facebook or Instagram account and post your layers that you use so everybody will know, because it's hard to describe without showing everybody the order and how much they are and all that.
Well, the main thing is on Gaia, getting the paid subscription is well worth it. You get many more layers and things. The most important layer is your MVM layer. That's the one that's going to tell you what trails are open, what trails are closed. But before you leave, you also need to get online and look at the interactive map provided by the Forest Service and verify, because the interactive map can close a trail on a Monday before you leave on Friday or Thursday or whatever, and it won't show up on the MVM map. However, I would be willing to bet, and I wouldn't bank on this, but I would be willing to bet if you have your MVM map out and that trail shows open and someone stops you on that trail and says, hey, this trail's closed, I would be willing to bet that if you did your due diligence and you had the correct map out and you said, hey, look, on this map that y'all provide, it shows open, they would probably just say, hey, we get that, just, turn around and go back or whatnot. I don't know that you would probably get in too much trouble for that. So
you won't. You won't. In fact, there's only 2 times you'll get in trouble really bad, is if you go around a gate or if you go over a berm. The other 2 times, if you're just on a regular road and it says it's closed, they'll just tell you to turn around and leave. So that's only 2 times.
We had a situation last year where we were on a trail and somebody came the opposite direction on a side-by-side, and they're like, hey, this is not open to passenger vehicles. It's only side-by-sides and ATVs. And of course, this guy had no map. He was just out riding, but I had mine. And if you look at the MVM map, you can touch the trail and it will pop up a box and it will tell you everything that's allowed on that trail, as well as the dates that they're allowed. And I showed him, I'm like, look, here's the trail we're on. This is what it says. It says open to 4-wheel drive vehicles, passenger vehicles, and greater than 50 inches and all these things. And he's like, well, that map's wrong. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
No.
What do we have to go by? That's all we have to go by. And it's public land. That's what we have to go by. And so that's what we have to use.
Yeah.
Now, Chad's, I'm not going to say it, but if you want to say it, you can say it. I know you have an idea. So the answer is yes.
Yeah. We're looking at September, and I'll just leave it at that.
World premiere. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
September of 24.
Yep.
Oh, wait. No, that's this year.
That's this year. Well, hey, I totally appreciate y'all coming on here. This was such an amazing trip, and I wanted to get on here and visit with everyone about it while it was still fresh on our mind. Although I think a year from now we'll still remember every friggin' detail.
But we'll be at the top of the list.
We've got a couple trips between now and then, so it's gonna be they may all mix together. Who knows? But anyway, I appreciate y'all being on here. We're gonna call her done. We're gonna call her done. And man, what a great time! What Absolutely. A great time! Yeah. I can't tell everybody how honored I was to be a part of it, and can't wait till the next one. I did not want this to end. If I could have had a hot shower on Sunday, I would have done it for 5 more days. But I had been so wet that body parts were sticking to body parts. So it was.
I had everything you needed. I know
we had geysers. Hot water geyser. We'll plug
oh my goodness!
I still had like 10 gallons, and I had the water heater with the shower and the whole thing. You could have done.
I took my last 5 gallons and put out the fire.
Just like I said, if one of us didn't have it, the other one did. It was great. Right. Well, hey, on behalf of me and Tony, my co-host, and our friends Danielle and Brad, we appreciate you, everybody, being here tonight.
Thanks for watching.
We are excited that there's 1,000 places you could have been, but you chose to be here. And this will be uploaded tomorrow to our podcast channel. You can download on any podcast platform. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful week. Look out for
Join us next week.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Boom.